So the Bucks took this season series here 2-1, FYI. Giannis and Durant both getting it done on offense to average 39 and 34 respectively. Steven Jackson, who's got the early edge in your opinion in this matchup, Bucks or Nets?
Well, it's a lot of different dynamics here. Two of those games, James Harden didn't play. So the Bucks really going to have to deal with that dynamic of the three-headed monster. Giannis had his way with them in the regular season. But as we know, regular season and playoffs is two different levels of basketball. I think this is where Steve Nash coaching is going to get tested. He has to find out what adjustments he can make from round to round. You're not a player no more. You're a coach now. So you have to make adjustments from round to round. And with Giannis, he basically had his way with you all season. And I hope they let that happen for a reason so they can come with a different game plan in the playoffs. But they haven't seen the dynamic of James with Kyrie and KD. And Drew Holiday can't guard everybody. This has to be a defensive game for the Nets. Yeah, we know they can score points, but they have to play bigger and they have to play defense. If Giannis averages 40 points this series, you would see an early exit with the Nets.
Brandon has said KD, Kyrie, Harden are going to average 25 a game each. Can't beat that. And I've said you can't win a title with terrible defense. And now to go back to this show's history, back in January, my old buddy Brandon Marshall said, I'm making a rule, an edict. It's my first rule on this show. No talk of defense until mid-March. And then mid-March rolled around, and the Nets were 25th in defense still. And so Brandon said, all right, no talk of defense until mid-April. He just all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys, he pretended March never happened and he said April. And then they were still 25th. And then it was, we all know how NBA guys work. They don't care about defense till the playoffs. We're not worried about the defense until the playoffs. Well, now the playoffs are here, and the Nets, let me check the old notes. Oh, the defense has gotten worse. From 113 points per 100 possessions to 116 points. And that's going up against a team that is running ISOs for Jabari Parker and Evan Fournier. So, I do not doubt the firepower.
Can I ask a question, though?
But please, what's the question?
So let me ask a question. So those they're beating these boys by 25 points, and maybe this is a stat question. I mean, these guys are going to let up. Of course, they're not going to go all out on the defensive side. They didn't have to. They were beating these boys by 25 points a game.
That's not the right attitude, B. But that's not the right attitude, B. That's not the right attitude.
Right, and Stack. Here's the thing. Tell me if you agree. I agree with you, Brandon, that first-round stats can be misleading when one team knows there's no way they can lose. But, and I'll throw this to you, Stack, if you're a team that I think KD knows particularly, and I think the other guys know as well, as great as we are on offense, we are going to have to be at least passable defensively to win 4 rounds of the playoffs. You would hope that if all year long you were a dreadful defensive team, that you would put maybe an extra emphasis on it in the first round, because they have no history of being a even good defensive team, being an even average defensive team. And that's my concern. I think Milwaukee is far better than it was last year. I think Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker are elite additions for this series. And I just don't know if the Nets can get any stops with the 5-man lineup they want to play, which is KD, Harden, Kyrie, Blake, and Joe Harris. KD's the only guy in that lineup that can consistently defend, and I don't think that's enough.
Well, I think James and Kyrie and KD all are taking the challenge now. Yeah, they're not the best defensive team in the league, but they're taking the challenge. But taking the challenge might not be good enough for the Milwaukee Bucks. They learned a lot from the bubble last year. Giannis is a different player now. Drew Holiday's there now. They have a lot of different aspects to this team now. So this is their Eastern Conference Finals by far. If they can get past this team after giving up 55 to Tatum with a wounded Boston Celtics and losing the game against Boston when it should have been a sweep without Jaylen Brown, this series is going to be a lot tougher than people think. You can outscore a lot of teams, but in the playoffs, defense wins games.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to dig in on, Stack. Because we've seen this Bucks team evolve. Like, oh, we can build around Giannis. Like, it doesn't really work. We have to go get PJ Tucker, get Drew Holiday, be a different team and be better because we had a playoff failure, 2 playoff failures. The Nets remind me of Y2K. Remember Y2K? It's when we were changing over from 1999 to 2000. And supposedly all the computers were going to go down. We were going to lose the national power grid. Gas wouldn't come out of your gas pump, or it would, and we'd be flooded with gas. Right. No one knew it was going to happen. And then New Year's came around, and nothing happened at all. Nothing happened. That reminds me of this Nets. They haven't played together. Oh, it's only been 11 games. Oh, it's only been 12 games. Oh, it's only been 13 games. Right. And they are rolling. Do you think that the Nets' lack of playing together is a real problem, or is it a Y2K problem where we talk a lot about it, but actually nothing happens?
Yeah, definitely Y2K. You got three of the best players in the world. You don't have to play them all season. You don't have to play them together. As you see, the respect is there. They work on their game, and the respect is there. The main reason why this is all working is James and Kyrie had an understanding when James first came. You be the point, I slide to the two. That's what's best for us. And when you have your stars buying all coming on the same page, put egos aside, it's going to work. But at this point, as a basketball player, I know you can score all the points in the world. But if Giannis is dominant with Jrue Holiday on that team, it's gonna be a tough series.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.